Hey guys, welcome back to more Reddit stories. Hope you're all doing awesome today. It's time to jump into r/ProRevenge, where people get exactly what they deserve, sometimes even a bit more. So be sure to subscribe for more Reddit shenanigans, and let's get right into it, guys. Terrorize my family? Enjoy losing everything and going back to jail. Myself and my wife had just had our second child, and moved into a duplex in an amazing neighborhood. Had its own playground even. We moved in and greeted the neighbors. Bunch of younger people, but they seemed okay. The first day after moving in, we find that they're gone and they've left their 7-year-old on a school day outside our door with a bag of goldfish and a note asking us to watch him while they went out. Cue CPS call number 1. The other neighbors and me got along really well. An old guy next door repaired bikes for a hobby, and the next door neighbor did woodworking and would always come over to see the kids and sent his grandkids over to play too. They warned us that our upstairs neighbors were trouble. Constant traffic, going in and out, and parties every single night. This was 110% the truth. It got to the point we couldn't even sleep at night, and we had multiple altercations to the point it was full-blown yelling matches. The landlord was useless and would do nothing to get rid of them, so I bided my time. Eventually one night, they came home in their red Mazda 3, and it was destroyed. They must have hit someone and ran. So I called the RCMP to let them know, as at the very least, I figured they'd get in deep crap. But oh man, I had no idea what I had just unleashed. Turns out the douchebag had a warrant out for his arrest for drug trafficking. He got hauled away in cuffs that night, and Entitled Woman 2 got a visit from CPS again, as they left their son home alone again. This wasn't once or twice, it was every single day. So my wife went digging for names and found the mother on Facebook. Using public record searches, we found out that they owed Easy Home nearly $48K in assets, as they had taken off from the original address with all of their furniture, including TVs and a huge sound system. 48 hours later, the sheriff was there with a box truck emptying their house. Took the beds, couches, TVs, the annoying subwoofer system, kitchen set, and even the dressers. CPS came shortly after and removed the child from the house. I didn't enjoy seeing him taken away, but they never fed him, and he was always in the same clothing and it was falling apart. We went out of our way to make sure he had full meals. We're not gonna let a kid starve. The douchebag went to jail for drug possession. He was out on bail and hid the drugs in a dresser they took. Entitled Woman 1 went to jail for assaulting the sheriff, and Entitled Woman 2 actually had a happy ending. Far as I know, after she lost her son, she went through multiple programs to clean herself up and started working to provide for her son. Ran into her a couple years ago and she thanked me for what I did. I got pro-revenge on the drug dealer and his girlfriend, and thankfully helped someone get on the right path. So I guess you could sort of look at this as revenge, but the way I see it, they really just did a good thing for this kid. I mean, no one actually wants to see a kid be taken away by CPS and put into the system, but sadly, sometimes that's the better option. But imagine moving to a new place, and the first day you're there, your neighbors just drop their kid off at your front door with a note saying to watch him. Where do you even get that idea in the first place, and what makes you think it'd actually work? She faked her injury. We had a coworker who always attempted to get out of doing just about every single task at her store. She had been there for about 15 years, so the managers just coddled her along because if they pushed her too hard, they knew she'd make a huge scene or file a lawsuit. It was absolutely ridiculous what this woman would get away with, and it greatly irritated all the employees. She came to work one day complaining that she had sprained her ankle at home and would now require a chair to sit on between waiting on customers at the register. It's important to note that she did not have a doctor's note for this, quote, ailment. It also meant that she could no longer assist restocking shelves on truck day, nor participate in removing sales tags and putting up the new sales tags, which are huge time-consuming tasks for the entire staff. She'd just sit on her throne, as we called it, and read her trashy romance novels all day long when she didn't have customers to ring up. Pretty cozy setup, right? The rest of us were out on the floor working our tails off, while she just sat there reading and munching on whatever snacks she brought with her that day. After about 2.5 weeks of her whining about her still sore ankle, one day her husband was really late in picking her up after her shift, so she just gathered up her handbag, books, and put away her throne. As she is walking to the door to leave, she casually states to me, "I'm tired of waiting around, so just tell my husband that I walked down to McDonald's. I'm hungry, so he can pick me up there." McDonald's is about 3 blocks down the road. Quite a distance for a person with a bad ankle to walk. 20 minutes later, her husband arrived and asked the store manager where she is. The store manager had no idea, so he asked me. I told him the truth. She said she was hungry, so she walked down to McDonald's to get something to eat. She told me to tell you to pick her up there. As the husband exits the store manager turns around and furiously grabs her throne, throws it in his office, locks it, and announces, "We're done playing this game." She never got her throne back after that incident, and we all rejoiced when she finally quit a month later. Update edit. She had a royal hissy fit the next day over losing her throne. Pun intended. The manager put her on a 90-day probation period for this stunt. I wasn't at work when the crap hit the fan, but my coworkers all said they could hear her screaming from inside the manager's office, and they were all laughing. When she finally emerged from her tongue lashing in the manager's office, she was very quiet and moped all day, trying to gain sympathy from the customers until the manager stopped her by stating, in front of the customers, "If you're healthy enough to walk 3 blocks to McDonald's, you're healthy enough to do your job standing like everyone else. Any more comments on this and I'm sending you home." She was so furious that she called in sick for the rest of the week. Finally, the store manager called and told her that if she didn't report to work for her next shift, he'd demand a doctor's note for her 4-day absence or fire her. He also reminded her that she was on probation, so she better get healed real quick. She came to work the next day miraculously healed. It was a miracle. The next day, the store manager assigned her to work some closing shifts with me because she always refused them before. The manager told me in confidence that he did this because he knew I wouldn't allow her to slack off on the closing shift duties. He was correct. During the entire shift, I kept reminding her of the duties she had to complete before she left, and she kept telling me that she's just going to leave when her husband comes to get her. Fine, but only if you've completed all of your job. We can both stay here all night if that's what it takes. The choice is yours. I'm not the one on probation. When she realized that she wasn't going to get around me, she finally got busy. And again, another miracle. She completed all her tasks before closing. 2 weeks later, she gave notice. The queen finally gave up her throne. Just so we're clear, the queen's throne was a simple folding chair. It sat too low to run the register from a seated position, so she had to stand to ring customers out. The queen could have used her throne to help us out by at least restocking candy at the register counter. But she refused, saying it was too much for her to move her throne around like that. We offered to move it for her, but she claimed she didn't want to disrupt our work. She enjoyed dictating orders from her throne. She would constantly call us to the front like we were her personal servants, knowing she was disrupting our work. "I'm thirsty, get me a Coke out of the cooler. I'm hungry, grab me a bag of chips and a couple of Slim Jims. I'm bored, go see if the new People magazine came in yet on the magazine rack." If anyone found some tasks she could do while sitting, she would drag the task out all day and still never finish it. Now mind you, these were extremely simple tasks that a normal person could have completed in 10 to 15 minutes, but not the queen. The queen sitting all day on her throne wasn't the real issue here. We were more than accommodating with her constant disrupting demands. It was her flat-out refusal to do any work at all. It's pretty rich how she decides to quit when they actually start making her do some real work. I just don't understand how she had been there for 15 years. Did this behavior just kind of start recently, or was she like this the whole time? And if she was, how did it last for 15 years without people doing anything about it? That's what I'm really wondering here. This one's called, "Neighbors Used My Property as Their Own, Paid for New Fence." I recently bought a house and have been having some work done before I move in. It was empty on the market for about 6 or 8 months before I bought it. One morning I got a call from my contractor asking me about moving the cars in the driveway. And of course, I had no idea what he was talking about. I hadn't moved in yet. I left my job site and drove nearly a half hour to get there. As soon as I arrived, the people on the east side of me were walking towards the cars. I asked if they were their cars, and they said yes. They told me that they had been parking there for a few months with permission from the owners. I informed them that I was the new owner and they can't park there any longer. We went back and forth, and with the intention of being a good neighbor and trying to show some goodwill, I agreed to allow them to park there for a few more weeks until I move in, with the agreement that they would move them by 6 a.m. every morning. The rest of the week went by without incident. The contractor called me about scheduling a walkthrough on Saturday, and we set a time for early afternoon. When I arrived, there were 4 cars in the driveway and nowhere to park. The only on-street parking is 2 blocks away. I called them and asked them to move their vehicles, reminding them of our agreement. After 20 minutes, they finally came out and moved them. Speaking with them, they claimed to have misunderstood and thought our agreement only referred to weekdays and not weekends. I corrected them and moved on. Sunday morning, I grabbed a trailer and loaded some furniture to take over and store in the garage. Once again, there were cars in the driveway. I called them and got voicemail. I texted and said they had until a tow truck could arrive to get them moved. No answer. I called a tow company. 45 minutes later, 2 tow trucks showed up, backed in, and hooked up to the cars. All of a sudden, the neighbors were home. They ran out to stop their cars from being towed, and it ended up costing them a little over $300 to get them unhooked. I called my contractor and asked if he knew someone who could put in a driveway gate, and he did. I let the neighbors know that they could no longer use my driveway. On Wednesday, I get a call from the gate installer telling me that there are cars in the driveway. I called them and said tow trucks are on the way. They moved. The gate was installed and I went by to pick up the opener that evening. The neighbor husband came out to confront me, and I opted to just call the PD and deal with it legally. That Saturday, I went by to accept an outdoor furniture delivery and check on things, when I noticed a towel beside the pool and a small kid's flotation device. My initial thought was that I just hadn't noticed it before, so I wrote it off and threw them both in the trash. On Saturday, the movers arrived with everything and we began moving things in. About 7 p.m., my daughter and I left to go grab some dinner, arriving back at the house around 9:30 p.m. The neighbors were in my pool. They were hanging out and using my furniture. When I opened the door and began raising hell, they told the kids to go to the house, and the children ran to a corner of our fence and just walked through. They had cut out the privacy fence so it could be removed, and had been using the pool at their leisure for who knows how long. Again, I called the police and filed a complaint. The dad was arrested for trespassing, DPP, which I think is destruction of private property, and an outstanding warrant, and the oldest boy, a 20-year-old, for an outstanding warrant. I replaced the fence with a new one because they had destroyed the posts, runners, and pickets by removing and reinstalling the panel. Small Claims awarded me the total cost of 83 feet of 8-foot privacy fence, which came out to $3,800. The following Monday morning around 5 a.m., their cars were parked in the street, where there's no street parking, so I made a phone call. They were gone when I left at 7 a.m. I haven't been paid yet, but I did notice a for rent sign in their yard this morning, so that's just as good. Good riddance. Edit/update. For those of you suggesting a security system, one was installed the next week, along with 6 cameras around the house, a Ring doorbell, and a fence around the pool itself to keep the dogs and my grandson out of it. I'll be closing and covering the pool in the next few weeks. I met the owner of the house yesterday evening. The house will be empty by the end of the week. They were evicted for non-payment of rent, likely due to tow charges, and the husband not working because he was incarcerated, where he remains. The warrant was for back child support. The wife apologized and claimed she was told they had permission to use the pool. They didn't. The material for the fence was purchased through my company account. I'm a structural engineer and commercial construction manager for a large local GC. Honestly, these guys were given so many chances to just stop doing what they were doing, but they just didn't listen. As if they just expected OP to be like, oh, my neighbors are parking on my private property? Guess I can't get any of my work done, oh well. It's like, no, of course he's just gonna get it towed. But also cutting a hole in the fence to use their pool? Man, these neighbors are really something else, aren't they? Don't take food that doesn't belong to you. When I worked at a smallish private college in the financial aid office, food theft was a major issue. Once, I set up a really nice strawberry shortcake spread for one of the gals' birthdays, along with a note that said, "For blank's birthday, please don't touch, we will share after we celebrate." In the 10 minutes it took her to finish with her student and to gather the rest of the department in the break room, some a-hole had hacked into it and tossed my note in the trash. Another time, during a super busy registration season, we ordered out for Chinese food. I put my leftover noodles and rice in the fridge, labeled with my name. The next day, the only thing left was the plain rice. Some jerk had taken the leftovers that I had eaten out of, no less. Since it was such a busy time and that was my planned lunch, that meant no lunch for me. Wonderful. I was pissed and decided to get even. Picked up an order of the same noodles, ate half, spit in it, mixed in hair and dirt with tiny bits of gravel, put it in the fridge with a label that said, "Not yours, do not eat." I hope the jerk got valley fever and broke a tooth. I was very happy to see it gone the following evening. We've got a couple commenters with their own incidents like this as well. This one says, I had a lunch stealer, so I added a ton of black dye to my soup. It was just a matter of going around and talking to everyone after lunch to see who had weird teeth. Yeah, Robert, I'm talking about you. Or this comment as well. A place I worked at had a scandal like this, and blue dye was used in the underside of the door handle to someone's personal fridge under his desk, where he kept his insulin, which the thief also stole. We caught the guy within a day, and he was so arrogant. He claimed it was inadmissible evidence because his right to privacy of what he ate. The quote, court case he threatened us with went nowhere. Why would he steal someone's insulin? Okay, maybe this comment explains it. Maybe they're going to sell it on the black market. Out of pocket in the USA is about $450 a vial. Although I personally doubt that in this situation. I'm sure it probably takes a bit of connections or know-how to sell something like insulin on the black market, and the average person probably wouldn't know how to do that, so that seems a bit unlikely. Alright everyone, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for watching as always. Drop a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you haven't yet for more Reddit stories. And also, comment down below what you thought of today's stories. Stay awesome, stay safe out there, and I'll see you next time.